Bob feels like the personification of those people, usually white, that put all of their mental disorders in their social media bio, and then they go on to go into comment sections and be really mean and terrorize people. And then when you try to hold them accountable and be like, hey, that was mean, that was rude, that was not okay, they go, well, I have XYZ, and so that makes it hard for me to know when I'm hurting people. And then we're all supposed to just be like, oh, okay. We don't know jack shit about them, just their profile picture and the list of disorders they have. And that's supposed to be enough for us to feel bad and be like, oh, okay, yeah. Bob is a blank character with no personality, no depth. We have no backstory. We have no indication on what kind of person he is, his character, how he makes decisions, what motivates him. He's just there and white and sad, and that's supposed to be enough for us to feel sorry for him and be like, oh, okay, poor baby girl. Why does this matter? Because mental disorders alone don't make you a villain. It's a culmination of a lot of things. It's the disorder, it's the brain chemistry of it all, it's your character, it's who you are as a person, your temperament, your personality. If there was trauma involved, the severity of the trauma, nature versus nurture, you remember high school behavioral sciences class. These all factor into whether you become a hero or a villain, or you flip-flop between the two, or you're somewhere in the middle. We know fucking nothing about Bob, other than he's there and white and sad and something bad happened.
Oh, but it depicted mental health in a way that's easy for people to understand. It's simpler.
Mental health is not simple, it's not easy, it's complicated. You don't get to engage with a complicated, uncomfortable subject and then water it down and call it a day. If that's what you want, then don't watch a Marvel movie, watch an episode of Bluey. Actually, if a Bob depiction is more your speed, I'm concerned about your ability to process an episode of Bluey. Any given episode of Bluey was better than this. But some people, including people with mental health disorders, they want it watered down. Especially white people. Those are the people that I've seen gassing Bob the most, because I think they also want to believe that all that matters is that they are sad and white and here. None of that other complicated shit matters. It's uncomfortable, it's ugly, and it's not always about the things that people did to you. Sometimes it's about how you have a hand in your own suffering. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that, because they're acting like this is the first time that mental health has been brought up in the MCU, and that is fundamentally fucking untrue. But I think the thing is, all the other characters that were examples, they were complex characters, they had personalities, they had pitfalls, they had strengths, they had weaknesses, they had things that they did really well, but they had things that they fucked up on a lot. They had bad things happen to them that were out of their control, but there were also ways that they sabotaged themselves and had a hand in their own misery. Bob is just a white boy who signed up for an experiment. So is Steve Rogers, but we got an actual look into his character and what kind of person he is. Someone that says, I don't like bullies no matter where they come from. Bob is just there. I think that mediocre people, especially mediocre white people, I think they're threatened by those more complex characters that have distinguishing characteristics. They have hobbies, they have things that they actually work towards, they give effort towards, whether it's becoming a master at their craft or becoming a better person. I think white mediocrity is threatened by effort, even if it comes from somebody else that is white. And anything that might reflect their insecurities back to them so that they have to actually face it. Or that makes them contend with, it's not just about what people have done to you to traumatize you, but it might also be about the part that you're playing in your own misery. Bob allows them to not have to do that. He is a literal white blank canvas that they can just paint themselves onto and not have to do any of the other uncomfortable shit. Just there and white and sad because something bad happened, and we don't need any other lore to understand or empathize. Just straight to damsel in distress. By watering down Bob as a character and not going into his backstory outside of a half-assed indication that there was some domestic abuse. We're talking mental health here. The audience needs to know what kind of experience a child can go through that it chemically alters them to the point that they develop a disorder. It doesn't have to be graphic, it just has to be effective. And whatever that backstory is, it's definitely not something so simple that it can be fixed with a hug from people you just met. God, I wish it were that simple. Y'all ain't gonna pull my leg telling me that this is such a wonderful depiction of mental health after I've been spoiled by character profiles like Tony and Thor and Doctor Strange and Mark Spector and Bucky and Wanda. I ain't fucking buying it. Bob stands next to John Walker as another example of white mediocrity. Being a white man, doing the bare minimum. Being the bare minimum as far as a written character. Being hurtful to other people and then automatically, instantly being pitied. Especially when others are not extended the same grace, Wanda. I'll never stop talking about Wanda. I've been beating this dead horse since 2021, and I will continue until I am laying in my grave. Bob is not the intentional asshole that John Walker is. But still, all he has to do to garner sympathy and support is to just be there. So no, it's not finally the MCU is talking about mental health. This is just the first depiction of mental health in Marvel, perhaps, that is boring and white enough for you to be comfortable with it. I'm not against the idea of Bob existing as a character or his entire plot line. If you're gonna show up out of nowhere, white boy, and then become a villain, and then instantly become promoted to Avenger, you better do some actual narrative work to make me care about this white boy. They did the work with Wanda in Age of Ultron because she also went from being a villain to being promoted to an Avenger. Convinced me that this is not just another instance of a white boy failing up. And then, as usual, I cannot divorce any of this from the fact that other characters that are not white men that fuck up never get this level of automatic grace. Whether they are conscious of what they're doing or whether they're under psychosis. And also from the fact that fucking fanboys have been so eager for this movie, for Thunderbolts, to trample Brave New World, as they physically can't shut up about being glad that woke and DEI is over. So eager that you will gas this up as a gold standard for cinema and mental health depictions. So eager that you're willing to act like we didn't have Tony Stark for 11 years. Yeah, absolutely not. Fuck that. If you want things to stop being about race, then stop making racism my fucking problem.